Hey there, all my woodsmen. I got that buck all prepped out, and we cut up all of my meat and grinded it. I've got a couple of different size plates, grinding plates that I use. I have one plate that has 3/8 size holes in it, and that is for chili ground. I have plenty of chili grind, so I didn't want to do that on this buck. So I went with another grinding plate that I have that comes out with regular standard burger meat, which is the plate. The grinding plate has 3/32 holes in, or that's the size. That's the idea, is 3/32 holes in the plate, and that comes out with it exactly what you see in the store with regular beef. I didn't video the grinding part. I wanted to kind of come up with a better plan to video that. I want to see the ins and outs of YouTube on how they feel about that. Um, but I could show you the finished product, and I have all of my stew meat set aside, and my back strap and my tenderloins. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I vacuum seal my meat. I prefer 2 pound packs of ground meat. I find that most of my recipes that works best is 2 pound packs. And if you got 5, 6, 8 people that you're feeding, well, you could pull out another 2 pound pack and just keep doubling your recipes. I have a chili recipe. If you guys are interested in seeing that or hearing about that, let me know, and I'll cook a chili for you guys on YouTube. But let's check out that meat right here. Is all of that ground meat that I was talking about with the 3/32 holes. This stuff comes out just like burger. Right here on the other side, I'm going to be cleaning up some of this stuff, but what you're seeing right here on top is a neck roast, and right here is backstrap, and underneath I have a couple of the, just regular ham cuts, things like that, stuff you'd rather cube up or leave whole for a roast. Let's take a look at what I got. First things first is a good sharp fillet knife. This is just an Academy brand fillet knife. You can see it's got some meat on it. I was cutting already. I really like it. First time using it. It's kind of long for my liking. You can see that blade about as long as my hand. And then I have my knife that I also use to skin with. That sucker's razor sharp. So this is something good to have on hand as well. I like keeping this one in the woods because it's foldable, so it fits right in the bino pouch. And when I harvest a deer, I can go ahead and drop the gut bag and everything. I can do all of that with that knife and not bust open that gut bag. This is my vacuum sealer. It was a Christmas present for me last year. My other one took a crap on me. They you can get really expensive with these. I wouldn't recommend going super high end with them unless you plan on just having a lot of meat to store, or if you have other uses for it, such as regular old fruits and vegetables and household items. But I think this food saver is from Walmart. uh, uh, $200 and less, between $100 and $200 will get you a good one that you can do this job with. These are the vacuum seal bags that I use with it. You can buy cheaper ones, but I find they like to poke through a lot, especially if you're vacuum sealing something like jerky, which is what I do sometimes with some of the deer that I shoot. But these bags are very tough, easy to ride on, and easy to see, and they always hold their seal. I buy all of these in the summertime. That is the best time to do that, especially like at Academy when these things go on clearance during the summertime after season. Otherwise, they can get kind of pricey. Like I think this box is usually like $20 for 44 of them, 1 quart size. So summertime is definitely the time to buy this stuff. Or if you can find deals on Amazon or knockoff brands, just be careful what you buy because sometimes they can be really, really thin and break through on you. This is something that I'm going to do is some of the ground meat that I have. I'm a huge fan of breakfast food. Anyone that knows me knows I'm addicted to breakfast food. Waffle House is one of my favorite places to eat, but breakfast sausage, that's some of my favorite to have with deer meat. My wife loves it. I love it. And man, you can't go wrong. I would test the quantities on how much you actually put in. Like it'll give you measurements per pound to use. Play with that a little bit right there on site while you have the meat not frozen. Just mix a little bit. You know, divide your ratios and see which one you like best, because sometimes they recommend a little too much and it can be really strong. You don't have to have a scale. I just have it because I like to see how much meat I had gotten from the animal I had harvested. So this is just a 25-pound scale. So I have to do it in segments if you have more than 25 pounds, which most of the time you do. I find from a doe on average, I get anywhere from 30 to 40 pounds of meat. And before you get started on doing anything to your meat, make sure all your surfaces are clean. Make sure your clothes are clean. I recommend, if you go coming back from work and you do it in the afternoon, go ahead, just change your shirt. I do a lot of sheet metal work, so you might get shavings and stuff in there, and not to mention it's just not very clean to do with meat. I like giving away meat to friends and family, and the last thing I want to do is get somebody sick. So one thing I do is wipe down surfaces with a cleaner, something with vinegar in it. I like to use. I feel like it gets the surfaces really clean, strips any oils off. My hands are pretty busted up, so I don't want to get my skin or blood or anything like that in the meat. So I recommend gloves, just some regular old latex gloves. um, I When I was skinning my deer, I did not have gloves, but I wash all of the meat, and for the grinding process, I have gloves on, and that keeps the meat cleaner and also keeps me safe as well. One time I cleaned a deer that had been in my ice chest for 2 3 days, on ice and everything, of course, but my hands were really busted up, and man, I for some reason it could have been a coincidence, but I got really sick for about a week. I just almost flu-like symptoms. Um, Never went to the doctor for it or anything. Just took medicine, but I feel like it could have been correlated somehow. So I wear gloves from here on out. I don't know if it's maybe something about the animal's blood touching my cuts, things like that. But either way, I recommend gloves. Some sort of rubber spoon or metal, it doesn't really matter, but I recommend using this to scoop your meat and drop it into the bottom of your bags. You don't really want to get the meat up and around the edges of the bag where you're going to be vacuum sealing, because the strips get hot on the vacuum seal. So you could start to cook a little bit of that meat on the end, and for one, it kind of stinks, and two, you could do some sort of cross contamination. I started processing my own deer because of cost and quality. I did a few times bring my deer to other places to get processed, and I was satisfied with the product. Every once in a while, they'll mix things up. Like if you request smoked sausage, you might end up with some fresh sausage or whatnot. It doesn't matter. Either way, if I'm paying for something, I want what I want, and it's expensive to do. I called around just to have prices for reference for this video. The cheapest place that I could find, and it is it's it's cheap, but it's not cheap. It's $100 to bring your deer already deboned to this place, and they will grind it and vacuum seal it for $100, and that is Adrian's in Lafayette. That's pretty expensive to me, considering the little work that goes into grinding and vacuum sealing. Like, that's the easiest part of this whole process. The hardest part is deboning. So if I have to debone it and then bring it to you, I might as well just finish the job. I mean, deboning took me, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, excuse me, or less. Uh, Grinding took 20 minutes, and this process might take another 30 minutes. So I figured I might as well do it myself. Um, Another place that I've been to is like Bio's. I know people that've been to Best Stop and Don's, and man, that could be several $100s per deer just to get it ground and mixed with pork and put in the sausage. I love deer sausage, but I don't love it enough to spend a few $100s on getting that done. That is my next piece of equipment that I will be buying, is a sausage stuffer. I'm looking at the heavy duty limb style. not electric. We've tried electric. I borrowed one before. You have to be pretty quick with the sausage casing and everything. If you're too fast, you come out with thin sausage. If you're too slow, the casing busts. So a hand crank that bolts down to the table that holds 5 pounds at a time, 5 or 10 pounds at a time. I felt like that was a pretty good option for me. That way I can hand crank and go as slow as fast as I need with my hand on the casing. So that's what I'm gonna try next. But for now, it's not free. It costs me labor, but the startup cost is fairly low if you're gonna be shooting a lot of deer. So I recommend it fully. And you know it's your deer because some of these places just take in a bunch of deer from all kinds of people and they just quote your poundage that you brought in, and that's what you get. It's deer grinding time, so they grind a bunch of deer, quote out all the meat, quote out all the poundage per person, and you get back mystery deer. It could be your deer, it could be somebody else's deer, it could be 6 deer combined in you know, just put into a package for you. Uh, I don't like that because I don't know what kind of shot those other people made and what kind of meat they kept in. If someone gut bust one with an arrow or something like that and they keep everything, that could be an issue because it'll taste and smell funny and it could get you sick. So, and if you gut bust something, take the time and the due diligence. If the gut matter has touched some of the meat, don't keep it. Not worth it. Keep the rest of the deer. Um, Things that I see that normally go bad, uh, like cuts of meat when you do gut bust something, is like that meat that wraps around like on top of the rib cage and comes down around the stomach. I keep everything, or I keep as much as I can. The tenderloins most of the time get tattered up with gut. Don't keep that. And if you're cleaning this deer and your knife blade is touching this stuff and it's touching other meat, or if you're spraying it off with a hose and it splatters all over other meat, that cross contamination is a huge problem when you gut bust something. Be careful and clean your deer and be diligent. Make sure it doesn't cross contaminate